Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, a slightly different format today from my normal recordings. But what I wanted to try to do with this is keep this a little bit more natural and kind of give you guys some first impression type of reviews based on new samples, bottles, things like that I get. So today, just received a sample yesterday from 13th Colony, which is going to be their 2024 double oak bourbon. So something that everybody, generally speaking, gets pretty excited for each year. So this will now be their third release, or their third year releasing this bourbon. So a few specs on this one. We'll try to keep these a little bit short and sweet, but a few of the specs on this one is, again, this is going to be their 2024 double oak cask strength bourbon release. Bottle count on this one was about 3,570 bottles. So those will be distributed throughout selected states, which is about 7 or 8 states that they distribute to at this point. It is going to be an MSRP of between $179.99 and $199.99, depending again on the retailer and how they're going to generally price those. So one other thing with this one is, again, I had mentioned the bottle count. We've got the proof that's coming in on this one at 133.74 proof. So a fairly hefty proof on this one. And again, as you guys can see, full transparency, this sample was sent to me by 13th Colony. And just, again, wanted to do a little bit of more of a first impression, my first thoughts of kind of both the nosing and tasting of this. So without further ado, and one other thing what I wanted to mention before is they are doing something that's pretty special, I think, in today's day and age. If you go, again, at the time of the recording of this video, which is towards the end of September 2024, if you do go over to their website, they are offering the ability to be selected for one of the 90 bottles that will be available for pickup at their distillery only. So we'll give you at least an opportunity that if you're not able to buy it in one of the select states, that you can have an opportunity to buy the thing online. I don't know if they're accepting kind of proxy pickups. That will be something you'd have to reach out to them for directly. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into this. Again, 133.74 proof, and this is their 2024 double oak bourbon. So what I'll say right away, nose-wise, it is very fruit-forward. There are definitely barrel influence kind of notes that are coming through on this. Very heavy on the kind of baker's chocolate, more espresso, maybe even like a dark coffee roast type of nose. Again, the dark fruits on this are going to really kind of come through as really like a heavy, like prune, plum, things along those lines, maybe even like a dark or black blackberry, something like that. Some really rich, kind of almost like heavy Luxardo cherry, maybe like a flat Coca-Cola type of feel to it. It's a very rich, inviting, kind of decadent type of nose. And again, that's one thing that they've been very, I guess I'll say, cognizant of. I think they're really providing this as a truly like unique kind of experience. Beautiful, beautiful nose, leathers, tobaccos. Again, really heavy, rich fruits. But more importantly, let's go ahead and dive into this and see what this is going to give us on the palate. Cheers. So right away, let's kind of address the mouthfeel. Rich, creamy, has a beautiful texture to it. Then once you kind of get beyond that, you quickly start to get into these very rich notes. Again, a lot of that kind of heavy, like maybe baker's chocolate, maybe even a dark chocolate, so to speak. Beautiful baking spices that this has on it. Again, I mentioned earlier on the nose that this has a lot of barrel influence, and it has a lot of that barrel kind of characteristic without a lot of the like kind of tannic notes. This feels like they pulled these and blended them beautifully. You're not getting any of the real strong drying. However, I will say upon the first sip, there was a little bit of a drying effect. But again, being the first sip, that probably will be a little natural. So we'll get into this here again a little bit, give you a little more idea of what this will truly kind of have to offer. Yeah, again, beautiful oak, heavy dark fruits. Again, those blackberries, prune, plum. Again, very mouth coating, very oily. Texture wise, again, beautiful on this one. More of those rich chocolate notes, maybe even like a little hint of kind of like a cherry pipe tobacco. Again, I had mentioned that kind of flat Coca-Cola feel to it. The lingering spice is continuing to stick around. Beautiful, beautiful notes. It just really is one of those bourbons that I think now coming off of their very first release back in 22 that progressively I think everyone kind of gets excited for. Last year, I felt that it was maybe less sweet than this, maybe more drying last year, more of that stronger kind of tannic barrel influence last year than this. This feels for me much more balance. A lot of those sweet notes with the barrel influence that's there, the leathers, the tobaccos, those cherry notes, again, other heavy dark fruit notes. So first and foremost, I think they've really hit this one. This feels closer to their first release than it did their second. So I think again, like I mentioned before, that balance, that richness, that complexity, all of that really seems to just be very cohesive. It's blended very well within the barrels that they've got to work with. One other thing that I forgot to mention is there is a toasted maple wood that they're adding to these barrels. So for an undetermined amount of time. So again, I think there is that kind of feel to it, that maybe that coffee, that espresso, some of that, maybe maple syrup kind of feel to it. There are a lot of different kind of waves of flavor that this thing has going on. But what I will say is at the end of the day, for what I think this expression is, those kind of age ranges of that kind of 7 to 9 year old stock that they have to work with is really allowing for all of these flavors to really work extremely well together. At, let's just say, $200, I think this is going to be one that an awful lot of people will seek out, but that, in my opinion, is probably one that you should be seeking out. So I think if you have kind of that as a mindset, just as a little bit of a recap, you've got an extremely well-balanced cask strength bourbon. Again, I mentioned some of those chocolate notes, baker's chocolate, maybe even like a dark chocolate, a lot of fruit notes, plum, prune, maybe even maybe a heavy kind of raisin note, blackberry kind of things. But, again, when you get into that kind of cherry pipe tobacco, other leathers, these are all working extremely, extremely well. I'll say, even as I've kind of talked a little bit more, there are heavy kind of like those vanilla custard kind of notes that have started to kind of come out a little bit, in addition to some of that maple, it just has a lot going on. And again, as a first impression video, this has a lot going on. And I think for, again, that price, the overall availability, this will be one that I think a lot of people will be seeking out, and one that a lot of people should be seeking out. I think it garners that kind of attention. So there you have it. I think ultimately, as a whole, this is something that we all look forward to every single year. And I think this is going to be one, in my opinion, that may even be on par with number one, if not be even slightly better than what number one was. This feels to me really, really well balanced, very well done. A a lot of those great flavors. And again, this is just a kind of a first impression video based on a sample that they've sent. So if this thing somehow continues to improve, for those of you who get one of these bottles, I think you're truly going to enjoy this and enjoy sharing it with friends and family. So there you have it. There's my 13th Colony 2024 double oak kind of first impression video. So again, if you do get this, or you're one of the lucky ones who are able to get it, leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Also, let me know your thoughts on just kind of this format as a whole, a little bit more raw, unedited, but I wanted to get this out to you guys just to give you a little idea of what it is you can kind of expect to get on the 2024 Double Oak Bourbon from 13th Colony. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.